Hello, everyone. My name is Owen Tendrich, and you are watching another Right on Campus production. I'm joined by Tyler Gidseg and Stephan Schneider. We are here to talk with you about tonight's events as it relates to the Democratic debate. Now, tonight was night two of CNN's hosting of the Democratic debates in Detroit, Michigan. There was a variety of candidates on the stage, from Kamala Harris to Joe Biden, all the way to Andrew Yang. So we're here to share a couple of our thoughts with you, take you through some of our favorite moments, some of our worst moments. And I'll start right off the bat with my favorite moment or moments, which was the dynamic between Cory Booker and Joe Biden, and really Joe Biden versus the world, if you want to put it that way. Joe Biden was hit from every which way, from candidates at the top tier all the way to the low tier, and I found that very entertaining. Pressure is definitely on some of these candidates to really start making an indent in Joe Biden's lead, which is nationally upwards of 15 points. Um, so as we get closer and closer to the beginning of some of the primaries, that is definitely going to behoove some of these mid and lower tier candidates to start to work their way into the top 10, or the top tier, if you would want to say. Um, what about you guys? You guys have any favorite moments of tonight?
Stephan, we want to take the lead?
Sure. Right off the bat, I'm gonna say I'm not a huge fan of this format. I mean, I know it comes with the territory of such a such a wide field of candidates, but it's really tough to shine when you have this many people on a stage, let alone split across two nights. Um, that said, there are a few people that have kind of come out. I'd say that um, Pete has done tremendously in the past debates that he's done. He's managed to make the most of all the opportunities he's had. I don't know if he's going to make it to the finish line, but he's had some very memorable lines. One moment actually is from yesterday, from Elizabeth Warren, where when she told Delaney that you can't, like, why are you running for president if you are just going to say you can't do this, you can't do that. I thought that was probably my favorite part of the debates, because it does bring up a good point. If you're running for president, you gotta be for change. You can't just say something's wrong.
Very true. Tyler, what about you? What were your thoughts tonight? Some of your favorite moments?
Oh, my favorite moments. It's very hard when being a conservative watching a Democratic debate. If there's any silver lining in it, I guess we really know like who the candidates are. We get a little more in-depth, profound look into who they are, as you know, in terms of their characters and maybe their policy building potential. And I think we really shed some light onto who they are. And again, I think CNN, or in their part, and the moderators' part, when they were conducting this, and I guess they are a little more um, equal in terms of like giving each candidate maybe a little more time. Because I remember Andrew Yang in the first debate, he maybe got around 20 seconds, which was very subpar. But of course, we see the rivalry between Biden and Kamala Harris, which is to be expected, very cookie cutter. Um, we have that going on, and overall, I think we didn't really pick up too much. It's just maybe recycled talking points and stuff that we already knew. Nothing really gleamed, but at least we did see some protesters um, heckling going on, which is
Yes.
I thought
entertaining.
that was very interesting. I don't think I've ever
Yeah.
heard protesting
Yeah,
at a debate. I mean, I've watched them for a long time, and I can't even think of any time that's happened. Usually, they're super picky about who even gets in,
Correct.
let
That was all.
alone
Yeah.
like trying to, let alone like getting that like getting people who would actually do it.
yeah.
So actually quite shocking
Yeah.
to experience it, not just once but twice.
Yeah. And it took them a while to get some of these people out.
Well, you have to
Um,
remember it's a huge auditorium.
that's true.
They have to get to the people, and then they have to carry them out. They can't do it without. They have to make sure they do it without violence. It's tricky. You can't just, it's not a Trump rally where, if you're there, everyone hates you, and Trump's there clapping as you're getting beat up on your way out.
Did we catch what these hecklers were saying by chance? Because I heard deportations in one of them.
Yes, one of them. So the first group, they were saying pedo something. The guy's name, basically the cop who beat up Gardner in New York. They were saying,
Eric Gardner, yes.
Get him, like whatever, like his name out. For a second, I thought they said like White Lives Matter, but then I went on Twitter and I saw like, no, they were saying the guy's name out.
Yeah, I think they were protesting Cory Booker. I don't know if
De Blasio too.
Yes, De Blasio, as well as I think Biden had some hecklers yelling at him too that they had to stop for.
Yeah, that was the one for deportations. That's when he got interrupted.
Yeah, so there were three kind of main instances of heckling, which were very surprising. Kind of added some dramatics to a debate that I think really didn't offer any. Well, the big takeaway was that there weren't many takeaways. I don't think this debate changes.
I would disagree with you fundamentally there.
Okay.
There's a huge fun takeaway for me that I've come through, especially with this round of debates, which is how it differs from the Republican debates back in 2016, especially with Trump as now the leader of the Republican Party. Trump won basically saying, "I'm the best. Obamacare sucks. I have the best plan ever. Wait until you hear about it." Of course, he would never tell us what the plan is. But that's just all he said throughout the debates. And I can't help contrasting that with these debates where we're actually having a substantive argument among the Democratic Party as to what healthcare should be. Like there's an actual real debate. The format may not be the greatest, but an actual debate of substance is happening where the Democratic Party is saying, should we have universal health care? Should we have Medicaid for all? Should we still have private insurance? Is that a role that we should have in our system? Like these are actually important things. Like I was talking with Anthony Voltaggio. He came over to watch the debate tonight with me. Anthony is he's on our staff here at Right on Campus, and we were talking during the commercial breaks about would it be a good thing to have to give up our insurance, our private insurance? Would it work? What are the worries? And all because this.
Oh no, Stephan. I think we lost Stephan for a minute. Oh, okay, you're back. You glitched out for a minute. If you want to repeat what you said for about 10 seconds before.
Oh.
Hate to put you on the spot.
I
know you were very much on a roll.
Well, that's too bad because it was quite poetic. It was Shakespearean in nature.
Very nice.
And it's so lamentable that our audience won't get to hear that stirring rhetoric and
very lamentable.
But yeah, I was basically just saying. If I could just sum it up, too long didn't read version. I noticed a very strong difference between the Republican debates and a batch of Democratic debates where we're actually seeing a lot of substance in the actual debate that's taking place. And whether or not Democrats win or lose, and which way they go, I think the country's going to be better off by just having this discussion in the first place.
Yeah, I see where you're coming from in that arena. I wasn't a big fan of the Republican debates in 2016 for that same reason, the personal attacks and the constant kind of bullying tactics. A lot of it coming from Trump. That was one of the main reasons I was very, very against Trump at first as a Republican voter. And I think a lot of other conservatives share that sentiment. But when I said that I didn't see any takeaways from tonight, what I was really talking about was, were there takeaways that kind of changed the dynamic of the race, changed the landscape of the race? Tyler, do you see any movement really potentially?
Not really. I think we're watching. If you remember that old book from elementary, and then there were none. I think we're just seeing, the candidates slowly but surely. And I think polls will reflect this, that eventually, as we go further on down the timeline, we're going to see more candidates get ousted, one by one. But I think ultimately it will probably come down to probably Biden, Kamala Harris, and Buttigieg, just simply because of I think they've really captured the essence of like the Democrat Party now, but I think there's like a schism. Like in Halo, you had the elites versus the Marines or the Covenant. But I think it's like the minorities.
Did you really just quote Halo?
Yeah, because
It's accurate, man. We got young viewers out there.
I don't know. You got millennials that play Halo, and I'm amazing at Halo. I love Halo, but I think we have like
2005.
Hey.
I guess that's where I'm stuck. It's a good time.
No slander of Halo on this Facebook page.
Okay.
Unless we'll do a 1v1. Oh, yeah, the audience would love that, I can assure you. But I think we're just seeing a schism now because I think we have, like, with Biden, we have the more rational, older segment of the Democrat, like, thinking, the literary wing of the Democrat Party, pitted against the newer, more socially progressive, the squad Democrats. And I think that's really, that internal infighting is really what's creating a lot of fiction and really splitting apart the vote segment. Because I think, according to the Reason Root-based survey, we have Biden, that's about 32%, according to that poll. And I think the Democrats are saying that if they're going to back Biden, he's going to be their best hope against Trump and winning the election in 2020.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that analysis. I think a lot of these mid-tier candidates, the Bookers, the Castros, the Gillibrands, I think these people have a lot to gain from when we start to separate the wheat from the chaff in certain terms of getting kind of these no-name or low-name candidates off the stage and taking up less time. I think as we start to coalesce around the core group of, like you said, 4 or 5 candidates that really have a shot at taking the nomination, I think we'll definitely see kind of. I'm predicting a polling boon for some of these more progressive candidates going forward.
For sure. I mean, Tyler, I'm almost surprised you didn't mention either Sanders or Warren in your little list there.
Yeah, those people too. Yeah,
because those two. I mean, I believe that Warren's she's gonna show herself to be like a better and improved version of Sanders, one that fights back and isn't doesn't just I feel like, I don't know, something about Sanders, he just kind of repeats the same message over and over again.
Yeah.
And I think that eventually that's just not going to do against Trump from a strategic perspective. I think Warren will have a better time against Trump. In the end, I kind of see, I mean, I would be excited to see Warren, Harris, Biden, and Buttigieg just on the stage by themselves. I think that would be a very interesting debate to watch. And we'd really get to see, because ultimately I think that what these debates come to right now is, as Tyler alluded, a search for what is the Democratic Party. Is it a very progressive party, or is it still a center-left party? And that's where you have, like, I'd put Biden at the most center-left, and then I'd put Buttigieg, Harris, and then Warren and Sanders at the far left.
Yeah, I think we're kind of reliving 2016, but with a lot more characters and a lot more energy on the progressive side of things. I think in many ways Biden emulates a lot of the feelings of the Clinton candidacy in 2016. Someone who's the definite front runner, but there are some enthusiasm concerns in terms of how that will play out, how that candidacy, a Biden candidacy, will play out throughout a general election. Yeah, go ahead.
Here's what's interesting. I mean, this isn't a new phenomenon. Like, if you political scientists, if we look at past debates, and we've seen this especially from the right, from the Republican Party. There's a great book that I finished reading over the summer called Why the Right Went Wrong, written by E.J. Dionne of the Washington Post, and he presented an argument where he basically went all the way back to Barry Goldwater and the Republican Party, and he essentially presented the argument that the Republican Party has been going to the right, further to the right, at each election cycle, and at the same time saying that the previous generation, the previous cycle, it was not conservative enough. So basically vilifying them as they continue moving further to the right. And that's how we've gotten to where we are today. So I kind of see the same thing happening with the Democratic Party now, where we're moving away from that medium voter theorem, which is saying that the best way to win an election is to stay in the center. Republican Party's already been moving further to the right. We're now starting to see the very same thing with the Democratic Party, where they're going to start moving further to the left, trying to get that base energized. And, one way to see this is going to be that further center, like a gaping hole in that center where Biden used to stand, where Clinton used to stand. In fact, some could say that Clinton was an Eisenhower Republican, if you look at his policies. But we're starting to see that same movement, and that's going to result in a further partisan divide between the two parties.
Yeah, I think there's definitely evidence to suggest that political science concept that you put yourself in the middle so that you can appeal to the greatest number of voters. I think that concept is on its way out in terms of these past couple of elections.
On its way out in recent history, but not completely. If you look at other countries like Uruguay, you'll see that as we solidify that partisan gap, eventually, and this is my theory, where I believe that as we continue moving further away from the center, we're going to find this gaping hole, and eventually there's going to be a third party that comes forward and is going to take that. That's exactly what happened in Uruguay, where you had a consensus candidate and party that came out and took the monopoly away from the two leading parties.
Yeah, Tyler, what do you think about that? Do you think that the future is kind of solidified in base politics, or do you think that eventually we might evolve, like what Stephan is saying, into back to a more centrist view of things?
Well, I think we're living in a very unprecedented time in history and extreme, politically, because I don't think we've ever seen anything as vitriolic and tribal politics in terms of violence and the rhetoric and the condemnation against the two political sides. Because now it's either you versus them. Like, fortunately for us, we can all get along and hold hands and sing Kumbaya because we're all friends. But
I don't know the words to that song.
Oh, well, that's good. That's good. But I mean, for Americans, I think it's that it's either you're with us or you're against us. And if you're a Republican, then you're this, or you're a Democrat, you're that. And I think it's just very, very judgmental. And you can see it right now. You have these groups like Antifa, and maybe you have these other fringe groups of the Republicans, clashing against each other and these protesters. And ultimately, I think it might. They say, I think the axiom or truism that it might get worse before it gets better. I think we're probably still scraping towards, getting towards the bottom of the barrel. I guess we'll just have to wait and see. But there's a lot of hatred. Empirically, you can see it going on right now, but we'll just have to wait and see. And hopefully it'll get better as time goes on. And maybe we have more morals and inculcate a sense of unity between two sides and a more intellectual diversity, and we can hear each other's thoughts in a more open debate, then that'd be great. And maybe we can get along.
So would you say, Tyler, that our political parties and our political actors are really just, Siths, because all they do is deal in absolutes? And if that's the case, would you say that we are currently in the era of Revenge of the Sith, and there's possibly a new hope coming in the horizon?
Oh my God!
Wow!
I knew I felt disturbance in the Force. Oh my goodness! That
Star Wars politics has entered the chat.
He caught me up. Yeah, the Empire definitely did strike back. Man, Well, I mean, it's very interesting because with the Republicans, they elected Trump because they saw where the Democrats were going, and I think they more or less elected Trump to safeguard the country because of what they are seeing from the Democrats now, and that's socialism, open borders, higher taxes. I mean, who wants that? I mean, it's more of just looking at it from the two evils perspective. I mean, Trump, I don't think, I mean, he could be a better guy, but at least you can see he's getting stuff done in terms of, economics and politics. He's, from that aspect, I just
we could debate that aspect in a different podcast episode, but
yeah,
I
that's
do
a whole.
see where you're coming from.
Right.
I do, we do, but I mean, both sides they do see, like, for example, we could spend the whole episode arguing on, is Trump achieving anything? Was he the lesser of two evils? But that's the point, and that's something that I actually noticed a lot in tonight's debate, especially more than yesterday's. I was a little surprised it wouldn't come forward too much yesterday. Yesterday seemed to be it seemed to be like an attack on Sanders and Warren from more the moderates. And then today, like, I don't know if you noticed in tonight's opening statements, almost all of them, all the candidates were saying it's us against Trump, not us against each other. That's basically the general gist of what they were saying. And eventually it kind of turned into a target of Biden and Obama.
It always does.
Biden, the poor guy, like he just got like blow after blow after blow. I think he did pretty well considering.
They were like a pack of hyenas on him, man. I felt bad for him. But what were some of our least favorite parts of the debate? Did we have any parts that we really just couldn't stand or hated?
The commercials.
The commercials. I've got a few written down here. One of them is the moderators with specifically Don Lemon with some of the loaded questions. I felt didn't really challenge some of the candidates and didn't really sponsor any type of reasonable dialogue. Do you have any comments about that, Tyler? Were you critical of Don's kind of partisan questions?
I feel like maybe they were directed in a certain way as you're describing, yeah. But I mean, it's not really my cup of tea. But I went through it, and I thought it was just very interesting. I mean, to see them debate like that, and see Kamala Harris and Biden go against each other, and then Cory Booker come in to save the day. At least no one was speaking Spanish. I mean,
that's true. I was waiting for them to speak French.
Yeah.
¿Qué te pasa? Que no podemos hablar en español?
Oh.
Maldita sea.
We heard a little too much of that in the first couple of debates down in Miami.
Voy a empezar a hablar en español y no voy a parar.
But yeah, some of these.
Entonces, Tyler, dime, ¿qué piensas de la actividad de Buttigieg?
Oh, I got the Buttigieg. I heard that. Is he pandering to us, Owen? I think he's going to give us stuff. I'm waiting for handouts.
He might be. I think another loser. I don't think really used her time meaningfully.
I'm sorry. Who didn't use their time?
Gillibrand. I felt she was very, very stale. Some of her comments at Trump, like how she said she was gonna Clorox the Oval Office. I was like, what? Like, is she talking about Bill Clinton? Like, what's going on there?
Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of Clorox. I don't like how it bleaches and stuff. So I do think there are better products that she could use. OxyClean definitely would be a better
That's some hard-hitting analysis.
So I'm gonna have to say I can't vote for her based on her choice of cleaning supplies.
That's very true.
I mean, how can you trust her to make the right decisions for the country when she can't even make the right decisions for how to clean Trump's stench off?
Yeah, that's a topic for a different broadcast.
And that's a question. Like, you guys are sitting here, kind of hitting on Don Lemon. That's the question you should have asked.
Well, Don Lemon probably would have gotten hit with a "you're sexist" remark or something.
Well, here's what's interesting. What I find, and I'm glad you brought up like the moderators, because I found it interesting how we have the moderators are stuck in a "you suck" sandwich, where you have conservatives saying you guys suck, you're too liberal. Like I literally went on Fox News today, and their front story for like the afternoon was like liberal CNN does, like, it was literally just like, oh, they're the most liberal things ever. And then last night you had the candidate saying, "Oh, you guys are literally just regurgitating Republican talking points in your questions." So I'm kind of like, I find this conundrum where it's like, how can CNN be too liberal and at the same time too conservative in their questions?
Well, I think it speaks to the core of what a moderator should be. A moderator should challenge the candidates on right and left. I think you saw, especially in the Republican debates in 2016. I think they were all hosted by Fox News, but people like Chris Wallace, for example, they were throwing some tough questions at a lot of the Republican candidates, and you kind of have someone like a character like Don Lemon who gets up there and goes, "How are you going to deal with, Trump's outrageous racist remarks," or some sort of question like that.
But is that not a valid question, considering that polls do show that a good majority, I think it was like 80-something% of Democrats find Trump's comments to be racist. 53
Well, I would have
or
to see that.
54 independents find it, and it was like 8% Republicans. I mean, that's some pretty overwhelming polling data right there. So isn't that a good question? I'd be curious. I'd be curious to see if indeed see how they would respond to such of that. I mean, maybe as you're claiming, this polling data is completely wrong, and the candidates pull a John McCain and say, I may fundamentally disagree with Donald Trump, his policies, but he's fundamentally a good person. Maybe they'll pull one of those. Maybe they'll go and full on say, he's a bleep and bleep and bleep and bleep, and then you're like, whoa, do I really want that person in office? So I thought it was an interesting question, certainly controversial, but I don't think Don Lemon should get too much of a rap for asking it.
Tyler, what do you think? You got any perspective on this?
In terms of just Don Lemon, the moderator, or just what he was.
Well, just Don Lemon and how it speaks to the greater debate of what a moderator should do.
Tyler, you can just say that I'm right and leave it at that.
That would take the easy way. I can't do that. I mean, as a moderator should at least be equal, and you have to be able to come out and make deductions and put in your own line of questioning that's able to really provoke ideas and essentially bring about different kinds of talking points and different kind of understanding, so that they can really bring out what they're trying to say or do.
That's very true. All right. Well, I think we've covered this debate ad nauseum. We've covered a lot of different issues. We've covered Halo politics. We've covered Star Wars politics. I enjoyed hanging out with you guys and discussing the debate, and I look forward to giving some future commentary. The next debates are actually not until September, which is about a month away, but we'll be bringing you some coverage of them as well, and I'm looking forward to it. Thanks, guys, for joining me on the show.
Yeah, it's great to be here. Sorry, Tyler.
Have a good night, guys.
Thank you.
Have a good one. It's great to be here. I'd also like to give a special shout out to our editor-in-chief, Ross Melman.
Yes, Ross.
The great Ross Melman, who continues to censor my article on censorship to this day.
Disavow.
So
Disavow.
I'm hopeful that we'll be able to see the truth come forward.
All righty.
Good night, everyone. Have a good night.
America.